So nice to see everyone. But yeah, this panel's called Followers, Feeds, and Frequency, Building a Conscious Brand. Lord knows everyone wants to do that, hopefully, these days. So Luna Bliss, maybe we can start off talking a little bit about what would you say defines a conscious brand for you?
So we want to be inclusive in our community. We want to have access for our patients. That's the most important for us to have doctors and researchers that are helping them come out of just the medicine experience. So it's not just taking a dose and letting people out into the world. It's the therapies that go along. It's the community that we build so you can all talk to each other and see how different medicines react with your chemistry.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, for us, building a conscious brand is having a philosophy, having a set of ideals that we want to live up to, and then reminding each other, with my team at least, we remind each other about those as we're making big decisions. So sometimes, there's a lot of big decisions to be made and while you're building your brand, and you're faced with choices and you're weighing all the pros and cons and everything. And we always like to talk about what is the greater good that we're providing in those decisions. Excuse me, and just make sure that we're considering that at every step of the way, so we don't lose sight of what we were trying to build in the days where we were just conceptualizing what we're going to do. We just want to live up to it and keep reminding ourselves to do that.
And I'm also a certified regenerative farmer and permaculturist. And so, in building a brand, I love to bring in the ethics and principles of permaculture to see not only how you can build that brand, but having that aspect of regeneration. So, through regenerating the earth and with the practices, the ingredients that you bring in, having transparency there. So in permaculture, we say you're either reforesting or deforesting. So you're either regenerating or you're degenerating. And so every decision you make from start to finish, think about how it could be a regenerative one.
Yeah, I resonate with a lot of what everybody said up here already. So Breeze, if you don't know, we're a feel-good tonic brand. We're non-alcoholic, and like consciousness and conscious has kind of become this like loaded term and means so many different things. And I would just probably break it down to kind of first principles of like aligning your perception to reality, using constant observation to tap in and align your perception with what is. And your brand is really like what people are experiencing with your product, and what they're saying about your brand when you're not in the room. And it's really like this aggregation of all of the perspectives and feelings and experiences that people have when interacting with you. And so it's really like a living, breathing thing that fluctuates based on the conditions you're dealing with at the moment. And so sometimes like you're rebuilding with trust with customers that maybe their shipment got lost or damaged. And so like for them maybe your brand is like, oh, it was a bad shipping experience, but I was really excited to get the product. And so it's like sometimes it's just really practical things, but I think it always comes back to that honesty, like that transparency y'all are talking about, like being honest with yourself, not engaging in like magical thinking or wishful thinking of what you hope your brand should be, because we all have an aspirational goal for building a brand. But then there's like actually what are the behaviors that we're actually implementing? Like, are we who we say we are? And having that constant process of checking in is how like we improve.
Awesome. So part of the name of this panel is about followers and right. So a lot of us are building these online brands is kind of how you get the word out, and great that people are doing it in person, coming to Cannadelic. I can't go anywhere without seeing Breeze, by the way, right? So kudos there. But like, how do you build this brand online when a lot of censorship is happening? And I know so many people in this cannabis and psychedelics community have been adversely impacted by having your hard-earned followers, shut down, your accounts done. You can't educate. How do you contend with all of these constantly changing censorships and algorithms when you're trying to build a conscious brand online?
We've definitely gone through it. We've been suspended. We've lost different accounts. If you know, I have a new personal one because of that. But I think everybody up here has gone through losing accounts because of censorship for plant medicine. And it's very sad. Getting creative with your content creation, making those in person connections so that when your accounts go down, it's not the end of your brand. People know where to find you. People know that that's what they want because your reputation speaks more than your online followers. And then continuing to partner with other people to build those followers and build those brands back is important because the general audience sees that and connects that with something that they want to attain. So they associate, like your established account with credibility. So being able to rebuild accounts after they go down and not letting it stop you from your business is really important.
Yeah, we're currently going through it with the censorship. So I'd say in really practical terms, if you're trying to build your social network and you're dealing with that like we all are, one, try to keep your posts as clean as possible. They'll ding you either way. We've also found out that accounts that we're associated with will get pulled, and then they'll just start dropping everybody's account that are associated with that account that maybe interact and stuff. So really, I think we've kind of found a groove right now by diversifying. So
and this is a really hot topic for me because just yesterday before I came to this conference, my account was taken down and banned. I had just over 15,000 followers, built up a community for Ganjasana, and so started a new one, ganjasana.school, if anyone wants to connect. But I think what's important, what we've been talking about, is having this sense of omnipresence. And so in marketing, having yourself in everywhere all the time. And so looking at retail, events, your email marketing, the way that you connect with your customers through social media is just one of those branches of the channels. And so being able to have a beat on every point of the marketing chain, or if you look at it as like your sales pipeline, to have your presence be known. And so that's what we call an omnipresence in our marketing and branding tactics. So when we look at this consciousness on a greater scheme of saying like we are all one, we're all connected, but actually building those connections in every way. And so for me, I teach about cannabis yoga, I educate about permaculture and farming. I had my YouTube channel shut down. I got kicked off TikTok, and now I've been kicked off Instagram and also Facebook. So with the meta ads has been really difficult. I work with a lot of different companies from CBD products to sustainable and organic products. And so being able to maintain that presence and maintain the relationships, everything from events like this at Cannadelic where we can come together, all the way to the way you might communicate via email or even your social media. But being able to have some type of lead magnets where you're giving something in that you can receive something in return. So we're always creating these reciprocal relations with our communities around us.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of covered like the whole topic there, like with everything they said. I mean, censorship is perhaps like one of the worst original crimes because it stops the layer of information flow into the mind for consideration, and everything begins in mind. And so if you stop the people from accessing knowledge, then you can control people's behavior. and ultimately, like, that's we're still running into like physical blockades from accessing nature, which is insane. But we have to keep being persistent and keep, and so like that level of dedication and commitment to finding the next pathway, like, okay, they're gonna shut this channel down, like open up all these, like, if like we've had our Meta ads account shut down multiple times. But you see people getting around it with like creative, people come up with like, oh, we're like, I'm ingesting vitamin THC today, or like they'll put it in the parentheses and stuff. And like all that stuff is really unfortunate that it's necessary for us to find these workarounds, and like, because you run into this issue where if I have to run an ad and blur out the THC symbol, it's actually, we're being forced by the platforms to sort of engage in a quasi unethical practice, because it's sort of confusing. It's like, well, what is it? Is it really cannabis? Is it not cannabis? And so it's only once they get to our actual website at the point of sale that you have the clear disclosed information. But throughout that process, we're sort of navigating around these blockades, and that we can. This panel's probably not long enough for us to get into the reasons maybe why all that's happening, but I would say just like we all have to be really persistent, and also recognize that if you're even having the thoughts of like, oh, like there's censorship happening, like, oh, we should be getting this message out about plant medicines and things. Like, if you're having those thoughts, it probably means that you're an important individual in this whole story to even speak out. And so I think actually the more of us speak out and just trust our voice and our piece of the puzzle, the more the chorus of voices grows louder, and then it's just impossible to ignore. And if we don't do that now, things are going to get worse in terms of the censorship and the sophistication of how information flow is blocked. And so my encouragement is just everybody speak out and use your voice in like a generative, positive, solution-oriented way, while also still recognizing injustice where it is.
Sweet. Are you all having fun? I'm having fun. Yeah, let's go. Vibrazers, that's what we're doing, right? Cool. So, it's kind of funny to me that, right, cannabis has been around a while as a more formal industry. Although it's still federally prohibited, it's legal in a bunch of states, and hopefully more soon, right? Not go the other direction. Psychedelics is kind of this like emerging quote unquote industry, people call it, but it really lacks a lot of the basic components of an industry. Like, a lot of people are getting debanked. It's hard to communicate on social media. There's payment processors going down for a lot of people. So I'm interested in this idea about collaboration instead of competition, because like in cannabis, there's still a bunch of infighting and people trying to gatekeep and corner the market and all that. It's kind of antithetical, I think, to a lot of the opportunities that exist for collaboration. So when I think about a conscious brand, I think about people lifting up each other, like banding together, kind of the sector sticking together. I know it's probably not how it's going to shake out in the end, but like, what are some of the ways you approach collaboration with other brands in your space who could be viewed as competition?
Yeah, so we collaborate with a lot of different brands, including Cannadelic tonight, to bring different partners together. So I just never thought of anything as competition. We also collaborate with Turt Basel and Bake to put that production together. And I just think that everybody can enhance different productions, bringing the different elements to functions. Nobody can do everything on their own. A one-woman team is really hard. Trust me, I've tried. But when you have other people that can take pieces of the pie and split it up and come together, it makes something beautiful, like all of these different panels that we're able to be on, the breathwork ceremonies, the cacao, all of these things come together in one event that no one person could handle by themselves.
Yeah, I think, specific to the psychedelic point, watching, I know all these industries kind of mirror each other and watch what's going on. And as psychedelics grow into the same, level as THC acceptance has grown, which I'm sure is down the road. It's all medicine. And what we're finding is, as we grow as a company, these collaborations make our lives so much easier, and there's always ways that we can find alignment. My company mostly is doing events. Cannadelic is an event, but Cannadelic will have us here. We're happy to have Pete at our events. There's enough of pie for all of us here and many, many more. If we work together, we just get stronger. Right now, just like with psychedelics, it's, I always say it's cannabis against the world, but it's all of these. It's freedom against, freedom of plant medicine against, this old structure. And it just doesn't make sense for us to all fight these battles individually. It makes way more sense to work together and partner up where you find alignment and, support each other. And, as long as the people that you're doing that with are conscientious, I think, we're all building to a greater thing for all of us.
And just to echo what everyone's saying, of course, collaboration is going to bring us all to a better space. And on that note, also collaborating with the right people. You do need to be diligent in who you're going to connect with. I'm all about modeling nature, and in nature, nothing stands alone for the most part. And so it is wonderful to be able to come together. I mean, all boats rise in a high tide. But I've been in the cannabis industry for over 15 years, kind of since its inception. And what we saw there was a lot of takeovers. So in nature, we also do have invasive species. So just need to be realistic about that and see how sometimes we can have corporate entities come in and sort of invade different spaces. And so really being authentic and what are your intentions and who are you looking to work with and what are your end goals there and how can we reach them together?
Yeah, I mean, our founder of Breeze and CEO Aaron, his previous company was Lucid Advertising Agency. So he was already in this habit of, serving brands as they're his clients, and so he's already collaborating with so many people from the industry, and that spirit carried over into Breeze, and we've always, while we don't always have to have, like, to your point, we don't always have to have like direct partnership with every other entity out there. What we seek is an outcome where every other entity has the opportunities to access the market and expand the impact that we're collectively making. And, so I think the thing that for us to all look out for is, especially when we get involved in like this realm of advocacy, because really like the anti-competitive spirit is really just like advocating for freedom, just for everybody to occupy their space and expand their ability to share and offer things to other people. So it's like oftentimes in these advocacy groups lobbying, what happens is people end up getting short-sighted in their thinking and they start trying to advocate for conditions they think are going to benefit them in the immediate term. But the downline consequence of that is that they're constricting freedom for the whole society. And so I think it goes back to that element of like consciously like checking yourself of like, what am I really advocating for here? Am I advocating for my best condition right now, or am I advocating for freedom for all to access plants and to exist and to expand? And so like, there's a big fight happening right now in the hemp industry. And as probably everybody in this room knows, like hemp is just cannabis that's low in THC. But like if low dose, like 5 milligram THC drinks are going to get shut down in society, that's a harbinger for psychedelics. Like that's a bad sign. Like if we can't allow people, to drink it, and I'm wearing my Texas hat today because in Texas, they just passed a bill to basically kill the entire hemp industry. And right now it's going to the governor's desk to sign. And, there's this question of like, well, who actually put this forward? Like, who's actually behind the scenes doing this? And you could probably trace it back to somebody thinks they're going to get some edge over someone else. So they're going to try to manipulate the conditions. And they don't think about how is this going to affect, the next generations of humans. Like, how is this going to affect my grandchildren, great-grandchildren? And so I think it just goes back to that like multi-generational responsibility. Like I want the best outcome even if I'm not alive. Like if I drop dead, what am I advocating for that's going to exist when I'm gone? And is it freedom or is it slavery?
Yeah, give me a round of applause.
That was good.
Take
That
all
was a
the
great way
validation
to
we
end.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to end here.